All right, thanks for coming all along with me. Let's talk about one of the best real estate strategies out there, especially today in 2025. We're diving into house hacking. You might have heard of this term, but what exactly does it mean? In a nutshell, it's a strategy in which you buy a property and live in one part of it, while other parts are leased out to tenants who service your mortgage. The ultimate result? To completely eliminate your biggest expense in life, your housing cost, so you can live for free while accumulating wealth along the way. It's not so much about a little bit of cost savings on rent. It's about leveraging your home as a cash-generating asset to accelerate your path to financial independence. Okay, so let's go back to the basics. The real strategic definition of house hacking is purchasing a property where you live in one unit and rent out the remaining pieces. The income off of those rentals is meant to cover all your property expenses. Now, this is the most important part and where most newbies make their mistake. True live for free does not simply equal your rent income covering your mortgage payment, what we call PITI, that is, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. True live for free means you also have positive cash flow after you've also accounted for all the other operating expenses, like saving money for future vacancies, maintenance, and repairs. When you do this, the acceleration of wealth is absurd. Think about it. Housing is typically the biggest single expense for people, at times taking up 42% or more of what they make. By eliminating that from the equation, you supercharge your savings rate. All that money that was going out to make a mortgage payment or rent can then go directly to investments, debt reduction, or for your next asset. House hacking is actually a risk-reduced platform for wealth building, in that your renters are subsidizing or even paying entirely for your greatest expense. The benefits stretch far beyond simple free rent. For one, you're building equity. Your tenants are essentially paying off your mortgage principal for you, and the property itself, presumably, appreciates in value over time. You're getting rich on other people's money, or OPM, with very little of your own money to invest to begin with. Second, you gain hands-on experience that you simply can't get out of a book. Living on site, you learn the nitty-gritty of being a landlord, how to handle properties, maintenance, and problem tenants. This is priceless, essential training if you ever hope to expand your real estate portfolio. And third, it significantly reduces your risk. House hacking is much safer than buying a rental that you won't live in versus buying a rental where your renters are paying for the majority, if not all, of the carrying costs. Your own personal financial risk is a lot less. Okay, so how do you actually do it? You have some main vehicles to pick from. First, the old standbys. Multifamily properties like a duplex, triplex, or fourplex. You live in one, rent out the others. This model has the most potential to actually achieve that live for free goal because you have more than one rental income streams combining to offset your debt. Then you have the accessory dwelling unit, or ADU. This is a massive 2025 trend. It's like a little apartment on your property, maybe a garage conversion or a rear cottage. New legislation is making it even more viable in most regions. Then there's the single-family roommate strategy. You buy a house and sublease the spare bedrooms, basement, or a freestanding income suite. This requires the lowest amount of money down, but expect more management intensity since you're renting out your living area. And finally, there's the short-term rental play on sites like Airbnb. That can be very high returns, but with high management needs and regulatory hurdles. It's a more advanced play. Let's quickly compare these strategies side by side. We're comparing two primary axes, the capital required to get in and the management intensity once inside. You can see the trade-offs from glancing at the table. For most investors starting their real estate investing career, a multifamily property offers the best balance of low barrier to entry for only 5% down and high foreseeable income potential, even with managing multiple long-term leases being involved. The single-family roommate setup is very cheap to get into, but has high management since you're working with roommates. ADUs are a reasonable compromise, and short-term rentals are in their own category as regards the amount of work required. Now let's talk about the 2025 marketplace because it is a unique time. We've got 3 significant numbers on the screen. Mortgage rates will be staying higher. At the tail end of the year, about 6.1%. That is high compared to what we had a few years ago. Then again, housing prices are still predicted to go up modestly, around 3%, nicely suited for long-term wealth buildup. And the best part is, rents are also predicted to go up by some 3.1%, which will be beneficial to our income forecasts. So how does this higher for longer rate world impact you? It actually raises the value of house hacking. With high mortgage payments, it is all the more important to have multiple rental incomes to offset that high debt service. That makes multi-unit homes strategically beneficial right now because you have more doors generating income to fight that high PITI payment. This is the magic key that opens up everything, the owner occupancy advantage. Because you're going to be living in the property, you qualify for great low down payment mortgages that are not available on plain investment properties. You can apply for an FHA loan with a mere 3.5% down payment, specifically if you're buying your first home. Or better yet, you apply for a conventional loan to buy a 2 to 4 unit property with as little as 5% down. Game changer. You just have to live there for a year. But it's a minor inconvenience to pay for access this great. Now, the lenders will help you qualify based on your projected rental income. But they use a concept called the 75% rule. They only count 75% of the estimated market rent as qualifying income. Why? To conservatively account for vacancy, maintenance, and non-paying tenants risks. So you have to play your numbers accordingly with this in consideration, because if there is a deficit after they've calculated it, that detracts your debt-to-income ratio. Now, let's discuss getting the numbers to work and review the 4-step critical analysis that you must do. Don't guess. Get precise. First, you need to establish your realistic rental income. Research what comparable units are really rented for in your area. Be realistic, not hopeful. Second, calculate your total PITI payment. This is your total monthly mortgage payment. Principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Your lender can tell you this exact figure. Third, and the one that everybody omits, you need to budget for every operating expense. I'm talking about a vacancy reserve, maintenance fund, money for big future fixes like a new roof, and even saving a property management fee, even if you plan to self-manage. This is a critical financial buffer. Finally, step 4 is crunch time. Calculate your true cash flow. Subtract your PITI and all of your operating expenses from your gross rental income. If you have a 0 or positive result, whoopee! You actually did learn to live for free. Let me show you just why that third step is crucial. This is the novice mistake in the making. Let's say your rent income is $3,000 a month. Your PITI mortgage payment is $2,500. Yay, you've got a $500 profit. Most new investors will just cut here and feel like they're making money and not paying rent. They're not, however. All right, now let's subtract those operating expenses we just listed. You need to save for property management, which is $240. You need to have a vacancy fund. That's $150. Maintenance will be another $210. And you'll need to save for large capital expenditures. That's $90. If you deduct all of that, your true net cash flow is actually minus $190. That means you, the owner, have to put in $190 out of your own pocket each month. You're not rent-free. You are subsidizing your tenants. That is why professional analysis considers all expenses, not just the mortgage. Trimming it off at PITI coverage gives false comfort and is a recipe for a cash flow shock in the negative. If the numbers are playing for you, you need to have the right tools in order to get it done. It starts with a solid legal ground, and that's a good lease agreement that spells out all the terms: rent, due dates, security deposits, and maintenance responsibilities for you and the tenant. Second, don't skimp on tenant screening. This is your strongest defense. Do complete background checks, verify income, and call previous landlords. A rotten tenant can destroy your dream investment into a nightmare, so lowering your operational risk from the very beginning is non-negotiable. And finally, get specialized insurance. This is important. An ordinary homeowner's policy will not cover you if you're renting out part of your house. The insurer may view it as a business. You need landlord insurance or a special endorsement to make sure you're really covered for liability and property damage. Don't learn this the hard way. Now for the good stuff, tax benefits. As a house hacker, you get to be both landlord and homeowner. You're allowed to report your rental income and expenses on a form called Schedule E. This allows you to deduct a portion of your mortgage interest, property taxes, and all of the operating expenses for the rental part of your building, such as maintenance, utilities, and insurance. The biggest benefit, however, is typically depreciation. This is a hidden deduction that lets you depreciate the value of the building over 27.5 years, which will dramatically reduce your taxable income each year. Now, if you sell, there is a great bonus known as the Section 121 exclusion that can shield up to $250,000 or $500,000 of capital gains on your principal residence portion from taxation. But, and this is an important but, it won't shield you from the depreciation recapture tax. And that depreciation benefit has a catch, a trap in fact. It's called depreciation recapture. That's why. You get to love that sweet depreciation tax deduction annually, which is great. But then when you dispose of the property, the IRS recaptures all that depreciation you'd taken over the years and subjects it to a flat 25% tax rate. And the kicker, this recapture tax is due even if you qualify for the capital gains exclusion on your home. Section 121 protection won't exempt you from this. Therefore, you need to strategize an exit. You need to duplicate that 25% liability from day one so that the tax savings you've built up over the years will be more than the tax penalty you take when you sell, especially if you want to sell the property after a rather short holding period. Your first house hack isn't where it ends, it's where it begins. It's the foundation for your whole real estate portfolio. Think of it in phases. In year one, you're only fulfilling your owner occupancy requirement and starting to build equity because your tenants are paying down a portion of your mortgage. Then, in year 2 or year 3, you take advantage of that position. You do a cash-out refinance. The bank revalues your now more worth property, and you take out your built-up equity to use as a down payment on your next investment property. You're recycling your initial capital in effect. Beginning at year 4 and beyond, you're using a powerful cycle known as the BRRRR. Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. Your first house hack gives you the low barrier entry and rapid equity buildup necessary to seed future passive investments and achieve real financial independence. A rapid but necessary reminder regarding risk. We discussed already the value of tenant screening and the need to address repairs so as to reduce vacancies and maintain income coming in. But I want to double back and emphasize insurance because I see this error repeatedly. Don't think you're covered by a standard policy, please. You require specialized landlord insurance in order to actually insulate what is now a large investment and business asset. For you who want to take the ADU path, 2025 is an excellent year because of legislative change. New laws in many jurisdictions are opening doors and expanding opportunities. Some are even eliminating the owner occupancy requirement for the ADU itself. That is a biggie. It means that you can rent out the primary dwelling and ADU after your initial occupancy phase, significantly expanding your income potential. But here's a crucial caveat you should remember. When you acquire a low down payment owner-occupied loan, the lender's 1-year residency requirement still dominates the city ordinance. So regardless of what the city advises, your financing rules are in effect within that first year. You must still live there for that initial year. Short-term rentals are a gold mine, but they present significant challenges. It has high revenue potential. Premium nightly rates are within your grasp, but so does high regulatory complexity. Cities are clamping down with stringent permits, safety regulations, and transient lodging taxes that you must adhere to. The management is intensely demanding, with daily turnover, round-the-clock guest communication, and coordinating cleaning. And you flat out require specialized STR insurance. A standard landlord policy often won't do the job. Non-compliance can lead to gargantuan fines and closing down your business altogether. So get educated. Not all markets are created equal. Where you buy matters a great deal to your cash flow. This chart shows that in 2025, the Southwest and Northeast markets will have rent growth above the nation as a whole. The West is indicating slightly less resiliency. What this simply translates to is the fact that the properties in these warmer states give you a better chance to get the most out of your rent, which is necessary to assist in fighting against those lofty mortgage rates we mentioned. So, study local rent trends. Don't take a look around your own backyard. To deal with all that fancy math, don't try it with a napkin guess. Use detailed financial spreads. Have a good template that you can instantly compare deals and model a few what-ifs, such as what if interest rates go up another point, or you have 2 months vacancy. Using conservative assumptions and stress testing your investment in such a manner is what separates the pros from the amateurs. Accurate modeling enables you to take into consideration all the variables and not make a bad decision based on PITI coverage alone. Let's distill the 3 most important numbers to sear into your brain. First, your minimum cash flow objective for real, live-for-free living is 0. You need 0 or positive monthly cash flow once all expenses, including all these reserves we've talked about, are paid. Second, remember the lender's 75% rule. Banks are conservative, so they only qualify you for the mortgage based on 75% of your projected rent. You have to do your numbers the same way. And thirdly, don't overlook the 25% depreciation recapture tax. When you sell, you will be taxed 25% on all of the depreciation you ever claimed. It's not a question of if, but when, so be ready for it financially. So here's your action plan for 2025. First, begin with multi-unit dwellings. With 5% down conventional financing, they give you the best opportunity to generate enough income to pay these high interest charges. Multiple rental incomes are the safest path to real cost-free living. Second, be uncompromising in your calculation. Define live for free correctly as positive cash flow after all costs, not just your mortgage. PITI coverage alone is a fallacious and insufficient objective. And third, plan strategically. Discount that 25% depreciation recapture tax liability in your initial planning. And always prioritize your lender's occupancy requirements over presumably more lenient local ADU rules. House hacking is not only a smart idea in the current market, it's nearly a necessity. High interest rates make rental income offsetting a necessity, not an option. Therefore, get out there, act with precision, employ conservative estimates, cover your investment with the right insurance, and begin building your wealth from the inside out. If you like this video and wish to proceed with your real estate learning, then subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so that you can know what's in store next. To keep your momentum rolling, I've chosen another video for you that will help you in your investing journey. You'll see it right here on the screen. Just click it and go ahead and learn some more. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.